I don't think that's us on now. Good evening. Welcome to our Cadenhead's original collection tasting. I'm Cameron, the General Manager of Cadenhead's, and with me is Lewis Anderson, who is the manager of our shop in Campbelltown.
Evening.
So tonight we are going to be live on Facebook and our YouTube channel as well, and we're going to go through our latest collection, which was launched in the UK today and will be launched internationally very shortly as well. So myself and Lewis will be here to go over the drams, answer a few questions as well. So if you've got anything you want to ask us, please feel free, as long as it's clean and nothing too outrageous either. And we'll try and answer as best as we can. We'll also talk a bit about the range and what we've got planned for it and what we'll be doing with it in the future as well. So I suppose we'll get started. We'll start off with the first one. And if you've got your pack, which hopefully all arrived in time, our very exclusive Jiffy bag and lovely plastic bottles too.
I think they all arrived in time. There wasn't any.
I think so.
Yeah, there wasn't any disasters. I don't think.
I've not had too many angry people so far. So,
No,
well,
it's always nice.
So the first one we're going to start off with is the Tomintoul 14-year-old. This is actually the vatting for this cask, for this bottling, sorry. We actually used 3 sherry butts. Now, they were all distilled in 2006, and you can probably tell by the colour of it that they weren't the most active of casks. Now, the Cadenhead's original collection, what we try to do is we will get casks from distilleries all around Scotland, and we'll try and make a composition of something that's of good quality. With this one here, we tried multiple casks of Tomintoul at the same age, and some of the casks maybe weren't so good. Some of them were okay. One of them was really good, and we're going to keep that back for a future release. But these 3 that we tried and tasted, we thought was a really good balance, a really good combination. It's really quite honeyed in the nose, quite sweet, kind of fruit cake. The thing about having such the cask's been a bit tired is that it's not going to over dominate with the sherry. You know, it's not got a huge influence from it. It just gives it that subtle kind of sweetness, the subtle kind of fruits you're going to get from it.
It works really well with a kind of lighter style of whiskey like this, like Tomintoul produce. It's that you don't need that super active cask to do.
No.
It'll just take over a lot of the time. But no, having these nice kind of refill casks.
Definitely.
Yeah, it works so well.
I think as well as you sort of pointed out there, Tomintoul as well, good Speyside distillery too, and it has got that kind of light, fresh kind of feel. Some of the casks we've had over the years, and we still do, are really excellent quality. It's maybe not as high profile as a lot of distilleries, but they do produce some good bottlings as well.
Yeah.
And this one's excellent. It's really kind of almost a little bit that sort of chocolate orange kind of sultanas. A little bit hoppy as well. You know, it has got a little hoppiness, but it's a really good Speyside dram as well. You know, I hate saying this, but as a starting whiskey, it is very good.
Yeah.
But it could also be good.
Yeah.
It could be good at the end of the night as well. Obviously, we advocate responsible drinking, of course. Don't want you drinking whiskey for ridiculous amounts of time. But
we'll be here for 3 hours now.
What's that?
We'll be here for 3 hours now.
Oh God, I don't say that. But it's a really lovely whiskey to start us off tonight. As we do with this collection, which was launched today, we do have 7 drams from 7 different distilleries as well. So we obviously want to try and get through them all without being
Conference menace.
Yeah. Without keeping you here for a long time as well. It's a Friday night. We appreciate anybody who's actually joined us as well. We've got people from around the world. Unfortunately, with what's happened with Brexit just now, we haven't able to get a system in place that we can get the packs or kind of bottles to our friends in the EU. My colleague Jenna's working tirelessly since New Year to try and resolve this, and we're hopeful that in the near future we will be able to get bottles and tasting packs and any kind of product there. But tonight, I mean, we've got people obviously in the UK. ones in Switzerland, Japan, Singapore. So it's a really good mix. We've got people from around the world. I'm not entirely sure how many people are on tonight. There might only be, for all I know, there's only 3 people watching. So hello, Mum. And Lewis's mum.
Watching avidly.
Watching avidly. So we really don't know. But anybody, you had the option as well to watch this later on or not watch it at all. So it's something we want to do. We want to showcase the new range, and we want to give everyone a chance to try it as well.
Yeah.
Ideally, we'd have probably liked to have done it a bit earlier before the launch. It's just with everything that's been quite the time constraints as well just now. And obviously we had to get the product bottled and the packs made up, which Lewis and the team did an excellent job of.
Yeah, we tried our best. I think it was 260 packs at last count. So I mean, imagine what that would be like if we could have sent to Europe. It would have been a lot harder.
Exactly. That was 260 packs. We could have actually sold more, but we ran out of sample bottles.
We never expected to have that much. It's the first time we've done a tasting in a while. The first time we've done a kind of larger tasting since the festival last year, and obviously just missing out on a bit of Cadenhead as people have been craving it. It would seem
definitely, which is always a great. So we really appreciate the support from it too. Not that we didn't think the product would sell, of course. We just with the last 12 months, we weren't sure how virtual tastings were still going, how people were still viewing them. So the response was immense, and we do apologise to anybody that we couldn't get packs to. We'll order more bottles in the future. But it's a really good response.
Yeah.
Just to point out as well that this release is one of our international releases. And the thing with Cadenheads is that we are slightly unique as we actually have we've got many franchise shops around Europe as well. As our good colleague Nathan's going to put up on the screen here. So obviously the UK, we have Campbelltown shop, we have Edinburgh shop, we also have our web shop, Cadenhead.shop. There's also the one in London. We've also got Odense in Denmark, Cologne and Berlin in Germany, Vienna in Austria, Baden in Switzerland, and obviously our friends in Milan as well, in Italy. Now, due to, again, I don't want to keep talking about Brexit too much, there has been some delays in shipping. So there will, if you speak to your local shop, your preferred shop, and they will be able to advise, hopefully, when it'll be coming soon, because some of them are being delayed. Switzerland, okay, is perfectly fine. They're not in the EU, so they got their shipment. I've seen Peter had the shipment ready, so anybody in Switzerland, it's already there for you guys. And even anybody who's maybe watching, who's in the EU, maybe not got a tasting pack, but watching, it will be coming to many countries as well. Coming to Belgium, Holland, France, Sweden, many others will be coming very shortly. And also the US to Asia, Australia, New Zealand. So it will be going around the world as well, this one. And that's the kind of fun thing about these types of bottlings when we do make them, is that you are trying to make a bit more to...
It reaches further, yeah.
They're still very limited. I mean, from this, as we said, it was 3 butts. You know, it's still not a lot of whiskey. Yeah. So it's still limited, but it's not... It's still very difficult to allocate it around the world, to get it to as many places as possible. So, that's the first one. Cheers.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we move on to number 2.
I thought you were still going there until you finished that dram.
Maybe a few years ago.
Oh, well, not anymore. No, it was a perfect way to start. This is... The Tomintoul's been it's been a semi-frequent bottling that we've done. There's been a few. This is the oldest one I've had from Cadenhead at 14 years old, since I started anyway. And the 10, 11 and the 12-year-olds, they're always very popular at the start, but they always they're the first ones to almost be forgotten about when the next release comes out. So they do tend to sit on the shelf for a little bit longer than the rest of them, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the whiskey by any means. But yeah,
I think this is another good example of why doing these kind of tastings also works, because when you see the release and it's not the way it's intended, but you're going to see like the Putty Bunnahabhain, or maybe the older Tullibardine, or the ones with the cask types might get more focus, and sometimes like something like the Tomintoul might get a bit neglected, but actually it's a cracking whiskey.
Yeah,
it's an absolute cracking one. I've got one in my what?
You need to pay for it. Yeah.
I know. I want to clear off my debt first.
Oh no, it doesn't leave the shop until it's paid for. As much as you try.
I know. I know the drill. I think it'd be nicer to me these days.
Well,
it's getting worse. Tyrant. That's it.
It works the same for everyone. But yeah, no, a cracking dram to start off with. It was a toss-up whether to start off on the Tomintoul. I normally start off tastings on grain whiskey, which we're moving on to. We're moving on to the 35-year-old North British. Why you start off on grain whiskies? It tends to be a kind of lighter style. It tends to be single malts tend to kind of dominate the flavour over kind of grain, so it's a really good way to start off with. But that Tomintoul just seemed perfect.
Yeah, no,
start off with.
Crack dram.
So yeah, if everyone's ready back home, we'll move on to number 2. So like I said, this is a North British 35-year-old, which has been matured in 4, if I remember right, 4 bourbon barrels, which again isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. But it reaches far enough, and it allows us to, as Cameron was saying, get out there a little bit more. And leading on as well, what Cameron was saying there about doing these tastings, this is another one. So grain whiskies, being a lot of the time when we bottle grain whiskey, it can be older, it can be a little bit, that's older whiskey, so it's a little bit more expensive, and not as many people know of it. So it's another one that kind of people they might avoid from time to time. So this gives people at home a great opportunity to try some of this. So cheers again, guys.
Cheers. A few comments on this one as well. Somebody asking when was this distilled? It was actually the North British was distilled easy for some to say, in 1985. So it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a year after I was born, so it's aged a lot better than I have, I've got to say. But it just shows you how old, it's strange to see that 1985. It's such a long time ago now. I hate saying that.
The glory days.
The glory days. But sometimes with grain whiskey, it can maybe be a little bit one-dimensional. The older the grain gets, now it's not the same with single malts. It's not a rule of thumb either. But generally, you can sometimes get a single malt that's maybe 4 years old.
Yeah.
It can be absolutely outstanding.
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong. There might be some young grains that you do find outstanding, but it's just very rare. The way it's created, the type of distillation.
We've done a few, like so the different Gurbans. We've done the 9-year-old, 14-year-old, a couple of different cask maturations, and
again, even when we've chosen those in the past, though, we've went through a lot of casks that weren't so good. We've been perfectly honest. There's that one out of 100 that's maybe really, really good,
and it works.
It does, but this again, it's another classic. It's that sweetness, that kind of toffee. And obviously with grains as well, they kind of tend to need more of the cask influence.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's obviously probably used bourbon casks as well, like refills. I don't think in 1985 they were putting their grain whiskey into really that time.
The finest of bourbon hogsheads. Yeah.
But that's perfect though, because it has given time for it to mellow. Each cask was actually pretty nice. We didn't think any of them really deserved. I don't mean deserved. They were that outstanding to be a single cask. Because when we are choosing these bottlings, we'll be trying multiple different distilleries. We'll try a lot of samples. Ruth Ashton Ward, you're no longer welcome here after saying that I was over 40. That's just...
Did you say that?
I just said I was over 40. I just caught my eye there. Anyway, what was I saying there?
Something about North British.
Oh, I forgot how to say that. Yeah, sorry, it needs the influence, and with myself, I quite like bourbons too.
Yeah,
you know,
I was going to say that.
It's not quite. It's got almost like a bourbon, even a rummy sort of.
It's got an old fashioned.
Yeah,
taste to it. It's got the Angostura bitters, even like old fashioned just on its own.
And you're a bit old fashioned as well, so you know exactly.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I mean, it's really lovely whiskey again.
Yeah.
But each of the casks that we maybe didn't think were good enough to be a single cask, you know, because when we are going through the cask, we're not just a case of let's put them together, because sometimes you could have the best cask, you know, out of 10 samples, say. The 2 best casks or the 3 best casks, the 4 best casks don't necessarily make the best composition.
Yeah.
And you might also get 1 or 2 where you go, do you know what, this is outstanding. This has got to be used in our authentic collection, like a single cask, you know, because it is that outstanding. But these 3 were good, but maybe not. The 4 casks, were maybe just not that outstanding. But we thought together, it really helped kind of mellow the flavours. It helped kind of unite everything, and it was maybe a little bit sharp. The reduction actually did help it, and just sort of it helped open it up a bit because it was maybe a bit closed at first.
So yeah, the first thing you'll ever recommend people to do with trying grain whiskey, especially bottled by the likes of Cadenheads or any independent bottle, really, is to add a bit of water to it straight away. It really needs it at high strength. It's a lighter spirit.
So I was saying that we love you, really, Cameron. That's
Who does?
Ruth said that after the comment earlier. I'll forgive you.
But no, the first thing you want to do anytime I try a grain whiskey, the first thing I'll do is try a little tiny bit and then just add some water to it. It needs the water to kind of break it up a little bit, and you get rid of that kind of that biscuitiness, and there is the kind of burn in the back of the nose when you get a high strength grain whiskey, and having it not to go on about. Obviously, everything's 46% here, so not to go on about it, but having it at that strength, even the last Strathclyde in the original collection before, it sits so well with me, as opposed to. Well,
it is a thing. Whiskey's that diverse that if we're not just putting something in because we want to be at 46% of that, some of the ones that we attempted to compose, some of the whiskies we tried other distilleries too. We were doing different cask types, different samples to see what they were like. Some of them were better at cask strength, so we didn't use
keep them at cask strength. Yeah, it's never going to get sacrificed.
No. But sometimes with this range as well, and we actually had a question asking, is this range to help kind of like people get into whiskey? It's actually for everyone. Now, yes, it can help people get into whiskey because maybe there are a lot of people who find cask strength a bit daunting still.
Yeah, I certainly see that in the shop a lot.
Yeah, but with it too, you know, people who are cask strength drinkers will still drink 46% whiskies like Springbank 10 or Collection 12, etc. It's about trying to get a kind of flavour profile, and trying to make something, a composition that is good quality, good flavour.
It's a new way of trying it as well. You get Tomintoul at 40%. You get Tomintoul at cask strength from independent bottlers, but having it at 46% and chill filtered natural colour still, it's another new kind of dimension to try it at, and it's
definitely.
And it works.
But it then can lead you in. It's also good to try things that, you know, we might have a North British coming out that's cask strength. You know,
side
so
by
you
side.
might, you know, you can try side by side how it is. At cask strength, this one wasn't as good.
Yeah,
it needed that. It was really close. It was a wee bit sharp. It just needed a little bit more to kind of open it up to.
It's a good way. It's a good way to do it, like it's done. Having the samples from different casks and being able to narrow it down, and having lots of these different samples to be able to narrow it down of what's the best casks to use. It gives you such a clear view of what's going to be useful for the authentic collection in the future, what's going to be
absolutely,
and what needs changed over, what needs done to this and to that.
And we've done that.
It's a tough job you've got.
It's tough when you think sometimes. There is that nice romantic notion that everything's absolutely amazing and casks we try, but we've got thousands of casks, so when we're always purchasing new ones as well and try to get them in and sampling and tasting them. And you can ask probably most independent bottlers that a lot of the time they could be sampling a day where it's not easy. There's that's when you've got to do a lot of your cask management, where you could have a day where you could have 20, 30 samples in a row that are, I don't mean bad, but there's nothing to shout about, So that's when we have to do another part of the cask management, as in, as I've actually said, we did it with one of the Tomintoul's, one of the casks we had.
One of the ones.
One of the ones that we tried. One of them was really good that we kept going, that we're going to think of doing for an authentic in the future. But on the other hand, one of them just wasn't right. Off. I don't mean it wasn't horrific. After 14 years,
you expect something a little bit more.
So it's got plans to get it re-racked. So for anybody that's unsure of what that process is, when we re-rack a cask, we are pretty much just taking it from one cask and putting it into another cask to try and liven it up, to try and give it some new life. So whether that be a sherry cask, rum, port, wine, fresh bourbon, something just to try and liven it up, because it does need the wood to kind of to help it go again. Yeah. I guess I'm starting to get a bit handsy there. So
I have to keep mine tightly locked together.
Well,
but yeah, no, a great dram. Again, that North British. You can see I thoroughly enjoyed it, obviously, because that one got polished off. Any other questions?
Let's see. Question: how many cask blend samples do you typically need to try before you hit on the best blend for bottling? It depends. For instance, one of the ones like the likes of the Bunnahabhain at the end, we tried, I think, over 20 for it.
Yeah.
The Tomintoul, we tried, I think, maybe 6 or 7. And what we try and do is we look at like what we've released recently, what we've got in stock that could be useful. We've got many casks that are just not our warehouse just yet, but so we have to kind of use what we've got here and try and pull in as much as possible. So we have to kind of look at like what we've got, what we've bottled recently. So we try not to do repeat bottlings.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, we've got a Tullibardine in this lineup, and we did a Tullibardine in the last release. So the last release Tullibardine is 13 years old, all bourbon.
Yeah.
This one's 27 years old.
If the difference is if there's a big enough contrast, then you don't feel nearly as kind of like, it's not as repetitive as it certainly could be. And
with that one, because it was so, we didn't want to, but it was so good that we thought, we've got to do it just now.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll move on to number 3, actually, maybe just now.
This is one I was quite excited about. Pre-release.
So this one we've got here, it's a Craigellachie. This one is a 12-year-old at 46%. It's 60. The composition is 65% refill sherry butts, and the other 35% is fresh Madeira. Now, again, similar to the Tomintoul, with quite a few refill sherry casks of Craigellachie, and again, they were pretty good, really good quality, but just maybe not outstanding on their own. They needed something. It was myself and Ronald were actually tasting them out at one point, and we tried 3 together. It didn't work. 2 were actually quite good.
This,
but the problem with the 2 was that it just maybe wasn't as outstanding, and also it's not much use for a release. You're not going to get an awful lot of it to do. As single casks, they weren't. They weren't as outstanding either. There was a good combination with them. So, literally had a cask sample of. We had quite a few cask samples of ones that we put in various other types, like Madeira, different sherries, like with rum, and some bourbon as well. And we tried the Madeira one with it because the Madeira was actually quite strong. The Madeira
was a lot of these part of the re-racking process.
Yes.
from beforehand.
This Madeira was actually re-racked in 20. It was a bourbon that was re-racked in 2018.
Yes, it is.
So it wasn't a full maturation in the Madeira cask. It's got, somebody's wrote here, beef crisps. It has got that It's got a lot of kind of like toffee sauce, demerara sugar.
Beef crisp is spot on.
It's a big. There's a bit of kind of dungy as well.
Can be quite a challenging one.
Definitely.
Well. The Madeira that shines through as well. You've got the kind of richness.
That's the thing, and I'm kind of funny with Madeira casks sometimes. I'm really, I really like some, and I'm not so keen on others. On its own, I wasn't too keen on it as a single cask. I thought it was just too overpowering.
Yeah.
But I thought it mellowed out a lot with the sherry back. Well, I'd say sherry back. They didn't have a huge sherry influence to them. They had, again, like the Tomintoul, very similar to Tomintoul in how the sherry influence. That's that little bit of kind of fruitiness. But I think this one was just. This one will probably be a bit of a Marmite one with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a love-hate with this one. But I think it's cracking. It's got that kind of biscuity base, kind of ice and sugar in the finish as well.
It's almost like when you get the Madeira coming through, to me, sometimes it almost comes through as like a new making kind of smell. It's Madeira. It's happened before. I don't know what it is. It's maybe just something that comes through with me. And that you get that in the smell, but when you taste it, that completely disappears and it just turns into the sweet kind of the sweet thing you're used to with wine finishes and sherry finishes. That's just gone. And it's an unusual cask maturation process having sherry and Madeira and mixed together. Like obviously there's been bourbon influence before that, but it's one of the great things about being able to handle casks like this in the way you've been explaining as well. You get to try. That's another really unusual combination of things that you don't see very much at all, and it works.
Well, that's the thing. And one of the questions we got was, why is it called the original collection? Well, the truth is, it's from an old collection we used to do called the original collection. Why it was called the original collection, I'm not too sure. But things like this could actually give it meaning. We give our authentic collection the authentic collection name because it's as authentic as you get, because it's literally the whiskey that was made in that cask, put into a bottle. Yeah. Original, you could say it's because we've made this composition. I've just completely made this up on the spot. So
I didn't think you were going to tackle this question.
I didn't. Thought maybe we could get away with this one. Yeah.
Think you did?
Probably not. But it's got a kind of nice. Almost like kind of rye.
Definitely.
Kind of rye sort of, which I quite like as well. I've got that kind of I really like that kind of flavour to it.
Again, we've done Craigellachie's in the past, and it's another one that's 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and it tends to be, these are ones that have been, as far as I'm aware, bottled from refill casks. Bottled from refill casks, so you get a good impression of what the spirit's like, and it tends to be quite a big, heavy spirit, quite a dirty spirit, almost like sulfuric. So having this, like just with that little bit extra and just a little bit more depth to it, not to cover it up so much, it's just it reacts well with it, like really well.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I was looking forward to this one when it was announced and when we did the tasting notes and stuff like that, and it's not disappointed.
Well, and again, a lot of the thing we're trying to do with it is you're given the variety. That's something that we want to try and do a bit of as well. It is to kind of, like from this, we've got other casks of Craigellachie that we're eyeing up for like single casks. We've got other ones that we're maybe eyeing up to age on as well. Because again, it is all part of the process. We've got many different ages of casks. Obviously, we do a lot of investment, especially in kind of younger casks, to try and lay the stock down. This is the sort of fortunate position we're in. Also, being sister companies with Springbank Distillery and Glengyle Distillery, we've got the warehousing here. So we have got more room. And we had a new warehouse built recently, which has helped us bring in casks. I mean, in November alone, we brought in, I think, around about 450 casks just in November. Like,
a hard month.
It was
carrying them down.
It was a tough month, but that we've still got loads more that we need to get in. It is very difficult trying to collect them from all around Scotland as well. We want to have them all here. Not just because we're greedy, but
well, I mean, the closer they are to home, the more you can keep an eye on.
Exactly, because you're only as good as the casks you've got, and
plus you don't spend a fortune getting samples taken and taken back down, and then
well, even some of these we talked about getting re-racked. I've used this one before, so I'm going to repeat some terrible crack that I've not like me to regurgitate bad jokes, but. The ironic thing about independent bottlers is we're actually very dependent. We're dependent on what stock's available from other distilleries. We're dependent on what they're going to sell or what's going to be available in the market at that time. So it's not like we can produce, a Tomintoul or a Craigellachie every single year and know it's going to be a consistent flavour. We have got to try and make sure that we can look after the stock we've got and try and create something that is going to be of good quality. To try and give some variance.
Push the boat out a little bit as well, because you can't just have consistent releases all the time, because you don't have regular whoever they are that'll go to the same bottle every time with like an independent bottle. It needs to be tailored to the people who like to change things up a little bit, and try new things, and thanks to everyone who does that as well, because we see it, and we see different people trying different styles of whiskey every single time a new release comes out, and it's good to see.
Well, I think the likes of a lot of these distilleries too, they're maybe not as well known. They don't have the same mainstream popularity.
It makes it fun. It makes it fun for me, certainly, and all the rest of the guys in the shop. It's such a great opportunity to learn about these distilleries that we wouldn't have learned about otherwise, and it's good to be able to kind of tell people, like, if you want to try this Tomintoul, you want to try this North British.
Well, definitely, and when probably the same yourself. But when I started with the company, I couldn't have told. I didn't have a clue what a Balmenic was. No. I couldn't tell you what the characteristics of all. I probably still can. Of Ardmores, etc. Kind of distilleries now that and only because really you're into whiskey and you're kind of in the business and whatnot. But a lot of the time, some of the stuff you don't see them on the shelves. A lot of it is just for blending, or maybe they just do small amounts of releases. So it is quite good to sort of play about with this stuff too. Mm-hmm. Excellent. We'll move on to the next one. I think we'll just check. We've got some. If you want to move on to the next one, I'll see if I've got any questions here.
I can certainly try, yeah.
Or is it my turn?
It is your turn, man.
Oh, is it my turn?
I need to check what it is.
Oh, no, it's you.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah, it's you. It's number 4.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I tell you, we spoke about this one at the start, didn't we?
Fine.
We've hyped this one up. So, number 4. We're moving on to the Tullibardine 27-year-old. I was about to say it's the oldest in the lineup, but it's most certainly not. But cheers again, guys. I'm just going to go straight in with a smell and a taste. Yeah, I think it's still the favourite in the lineup for me. It's just it's stunning. I do tend to have a soft spot for Tullibardine. When I started in the Edinburgh shop a few years ago, it was in 2017. It was one of the first whiskies I tried. I thought, apart from Springbank and Kilkerran, but that's a bigger soft spot. It was the first whiskey I tried when I thought, oh well, that's fantastic. It was a kind of sentimental thing. It had that really it's like a nutty flavour, and it had like earthy tomato plant kind of like notes to it that reminded me of like Granda's greenhouse and all that. And it was just one of those ones that you kind of you just got at the start. And then ever since then, anytime that was a 23-year-old, since then there's been 24, 25, 26, 27, which we're on now. And each of them they've been different enough to still pique the interest, but they've still got that similar quality, and that's got it with the extra oomph that it's now been matured, and there's been an added addition of a rum cask that's been introduced to it. So this one's been three bourbon hogshead casks and 1 rum cask.
Two
bourbon
and
and
one rum.
1 rum. Yeah. So the rum just gives it that kind of extra bit. Do you know back then when I kind of looked into this, do you know a lot of these Tullibardines that we've had from 1993 and 1994, and apparently during that time they were having hard times and they sold half their distillery site to be like a retail park and sold a lot of their casks.
We bought half of them.
we must have bought half of them, yeah. And then when they started back up again, the new owners had said, oh, but they might be like, they had said about the cast that they were slightly tired and all the rest of it, and they were like giving off woody and nutty notes, and I was like, oh, you guys are the fools, because I absolutely loved that. But yeah, so a lot of this stuff comes from that kind of time. It's quite interesting to see that, like, the things that we've been bottling have obviously maybe stemmed from that kind of era they had.
Well, it's a good point. It was actually you, since I've known you as well, again, you always goes on about Tullibardine, and I bought a couple of bottles just because I knew them anyway, but it's kind of reminded me how good they were. And the price value was unbelievable too. I mean, even I don't know how much is this one.
£107.
£107, which again, it's a lot of money, but
27-year-old whiskey, yeah. You don't expect it to be.
And it's a stunning dram. When we chose this one too, again, each of the single casks were pretty good, but they're probably not better as single cask as some of the ones that we bottled already in the past. So we put the 2 bourbons together, and they were pretty good. And to be honest with you, we just tried the rum added with it, and it just gave it a little kind of almost dank, kind of. It's in the nose, a kind of dunnagey dank.
It's like, it's got that, and it's like pure like tropical juice.
Yeah.
Like when you smell it, it's like, I know we put that. Like,
older Tullibardines have got that tropical.
Yeah, like pineapple juice and like definitely.
Quite like an old Bunnahabhain sometimes, like the old, the old Tullibardines.
Yeah, the funny thing about all the single cask ones we've did for this authentic collection, or even one of the ones from the old kind of small batch that have been a couple of casks. The youngest one we had, which was the 23-year-old, that was sitting at like 47.1%, and then it went up to the 24, and that went down to 45 point whatever. So they're actually lower than what we've got here.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe you're used to it being like that, so you kind of.
We bottled one recently, which we had in a Tony Port cask, I think.
Oh yeah, is that for the annual release? That was from last year's annual release.
No, we did one for the authentic recently. Can't remember. November? What is it? Maybe the winter one. I can't remember. And it was about 41.2%
on the cusp.
Well.
Yeah.
I think it was port. I'll need to double check that one. That's still you're choosing these months in advance, and even tonight before we started, before he catches me out, I couldn't remember the ages of half of these.
I'll know. I see these when they're maybe like 3 or 4 weeks before they come down, or however long it is, and we see them. We like get a first look at the kind of the casks, but before that, it's been a month or two when you've chosen them, and then obviously they need to go through the bottling process. And
we've probably chosen like 3 or 4 other releases since this one. And I don't mean to sound like sounds kind of blasé. You do kind of forget because it is months down the line, and you forget which ones during which Actually, I'll admit it now. I couldn't remember the Craigellachie agent. Nathan put it up on the screen.
Well, see, he says this, but he's also freely admitted that they've tried 26 samples while they're looking for these.
Which is probably why the memory's not so good either. But again, it's sexy. Somebody's wrote here, Ryan Sutherland reminds me of Umbongo.
Exactly, yeah, it's like just tropical juice. Like
this one as well, because we only used 3 casks for it, and because they were a bit older, there wasn't as much in the outturn from, we didn't get as much from this one. So it is going to be one that's a bit more scarce. It's going to be a bit maybe tougher to get. So it's probably, I would advise, if you do like it and wanted a bottle, I would advise getting in quickly, because it is.
A lot of the guys would like purely on, like you said, like my kind of soft spot for Tullibardine. A lot of the guys who kind of come to Campbelltown quite regularly, they've got their name down for this, and they've been interested to buy it to see what it's like, because I've been singing its praises, and you can't go wrong. So get in fast with this one, because I might just buy it all up.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I wish I had the money.
A few comments here. Robert Hardiger says best nose for sure so far. Sashi Mahindra, never leave Lewis alone with any rum cask. That's pretty wise. It'll be gone.
Never knew a reputation like that.
We've got one from Jim Davis here. Question: do they sell kumquats in Campbelltown?
Oh no, we had this conversation before the tasting.
We actually beforehand we were trying samples, and Lewis was looking at the notes, and he said, "Oh, what's a kumquat, by the way?" So me and Nathan had to kind of explain it to him, but in fairness,
no, they tried to explain it to me. It never worked. It was a stoned fruit of some sort.
No, it's not a stone fruit. But it's kind of citrusy fruit.
I've got McIver's fruit shop right next door in my still room.
We don't have quite the exotic palates down here, but we're starting to branch out a bit more.
Somebody on the tasting panel is obviously known.
So Jim Cameron's asked, were all the cast 27-year-old or just the youngest? No, they were all actually the same age. They were all 1993 casks, so they all were the same age. This one. I seem to be getting quite a good response from that one. Let's see if we get any. Excellent. We'll maybe move on to number 5, which is the Benrinnes. So this one here, again, Benrinnes, 11 years old, 46%. This one's quite different again. We've used quite a funky kind of, funky, didn't mean to say that, quite a different range of casks for this one. Oh, Nathan's shaking his head, sorry.
I'm sure I've been warned against using that.
40% PX sherry casks, 40% bourbon and 20% rum. The PX was not full maturation PX. Again, they were roughly 2.5 years. They were ex-bourbon casks. All the casks were distilled in 2009. The rum as well was not a full maturation rum. It was again another 2 years. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have a note of what rum cask it was. I can't remember if it was
I think I asked you that about the Tullibardine.
I think it was an ex-classic rum cask we used for it, if I can remember right. I'll need to find my old notes. So it was a kind of a different mix. Now the PX, the 2 PX casks that we used for it were pretty strong. They were quite, when we got them, they were like Coca-Cola. And the taste, if you like a big sherry hen, they'd have been perfect. It wasn't quite our style. Yeah. So we thought it needed a bit more. It needed a bit more kind of calming down. So the bourbon cask did calm them down, but we just needed a bit more for it. It needed a little bit more. We had a rum cask sample there. I just thought, let's try it.
It's a very experimental.
I'd love to say that they were there, but this needs some rum influence to it. When really it wasn't. It was like, we need to put a bit more into this. Let's try the rum. Because we had another bourbon cask that we tried and didn't really do much to it. But the rum, what it's done, I'm not too sure. Because it's quite a lot of ginger, kind of gingerbread and kind of Christmas, but almost kind of cinnamon as well in it.
Normally with these, I can kind of, when you look at it, I don't tend to take towards really heavily sherried whiskies that much. And when I first seen this one, when it was first shown to us, I was like, all right, okay. But you know what to expect, you smell it. Well, you think you know what to expect, and then you kind of smell and taste it. But yeah, I didn't get what I was expecting from it. I was expecting it to be like that super rich kind of, almost kind of sickly sweet.
It was to begin with.
With reducing
its own
sherry.
Yeah, if we're being perfectly honest, the actual the PX on its own was just too much.
You showed me it. And the
Oh,
offices upstairs. I think
describe it.
I think it was after like 4 months.
Yeah, originally we tried a sample with part of the kind of cask management is we'll try and, especially with PX, because PX is quite a dominant sherry.
I think we're still getting used to that as well.
It's something we've not really used until the last few years. So it is something that we are trying to get a bit more of a handle on as well. Because we were used to a lot of times
where a handle on you sometimes.
A lot of the time we were used to maybe putting it in a cask and leaving it for years without really tasting it. So we didn't really have to worry about that. Then suddenly after 4 months, it's oh god. At the time there was no integration in flavour. It was literally just you could taste the sherry and then there was a little bit of kind of a whiskey influence in the background. But this one needed the calmness from it. Because the bourbon Benrinnes, really like Benrinnes. It's quite a sweet whiskey. Quite some of the single casks and some of the batches we've done over the past. It's one of those whiskies that's got a really good following over the last few years.
For us specifically, like we've had however many bottles of like 18-year-old Benrinnes in the last few years, and it took a little bit of time to gain some traction.
Yeah.
Like there was the first authentic collection one came out, and then I think there was another authentic one, and then a small batch one, and then after that I think there was a 20-year-old came out, and people just kind of latched onto that, and after that the previous ones kind of went wild, and people realised just how good this stuff was, and I think it was like 75, 80 quid a bottle, just kept going, and then since then it's gained such a following every time we bottle Benrinnes, and this one's been no different. It's almost sold out in the shop. It's been really popular online. It's just gained this kind of almost a cult Cadenhead's following.
Definitely.
That you get, but I don't see it with any other.
See, even like that, and this is the kind of highlight of like with independent bottlers and the way that we run it with the kind of franchise shops as well. To get a lot of trust is to be given because you don't see a lot of these distilleries, and this is where having shops, it really helps the likes of ourselves, because people can come in, whether you're in Germany, Denmark, Switzerland, within the UK, you can meet Lewis, you could go and meet Angus and Kiss or Peter or the guys in Vienna, and you can try things that you don't normally try.
Yeah.
Benrinnes, I think, was a lot, because we used to get a lot of people coming in, and you would try a Benrinnes, and there would be a kind of an underwhelming look in their face. Oh right, okay, a Benrinnes, and then they'd try it and go, that's. And especially the price point too, the value to the actual quality. It's really, really good stuff. This one though, again, is slightly different because about the bourbon casks were not as good as the bourbon casks we've had in the past, but the sherry was too dominant, so it actually helped balance it out a lot. And then adding the rum, I don't know what it's done to it, but it's just given it's got a lot of aniseed, kind of sweetness to it. As I said, the kind of the ginger, but there's a lot going on with it as well.
There's a lot of spice coming through it.
And spice, not hot.
No, definitely not. It's like all spice and ginger and like cinnamon.
Again, this one's going to be another one. I don't think you've got much left of this. I think the web shop sold out. I think you've got London and Edinburgh still within the UK. Again, this is going to go around all our shops very soon. If contact them to see when it'll be available. Also to markets around the world as well. So it is going to be. It's taken off a bit more than what we thought. We were hoping this tasting then people would. But today was a bit crazy launch, a bit more crazy than what we thought.
I certainly thought, I remember when we were discussing doing this tasting, and I thought it was a great idea to do it on the day of the release because it's the original collection release. There's made to be more of it. It's made to reach further. It's meant to last a little bit longer. Yeah. It's not meant to be the authentic collection. You expect things to sell out. It's meant to be there. But we're kind of coming into this today, we're talking about the Ardmore is disappearing, the Benrinnes is on its way out. I mean, it's amazing, but It's a bit kind of surprising as well that it's really taken off like that.
Definitely, because when we first picked them as well, you're not expecting, 8-year-old Ardmore, 11-year-old Benrinnes. What's the Ardmore age? 11-year-old Benrinnes, etc. To, if you've got something like Ardbeg or Lefroy or a Springbank release coming up, there's going to be carnage.
Just wait till we bring out our 4-cask Vatn of Ardbeg 26-year-old next. Don't expect that, anyone, please.
You never know. We'll see. So.
No, that is some.
How much is this one anyway? What's the price?
That one was 59, I think, for that one.
So it's 59 in Campbelltown, Edinburgh, and Web Shop.
49, sorry.
49.
I'm way off a tenner off.
You've saved a tenner already.
59 in Campbelltown.
So, and check the other shops as well with different pricing too. So, at different markets as well. If you are interested in that one, or you're looking to get another bottle.
Yeah, but some great experimentation done there. Again, another thing like the Craigellachie that I've never seen before, and I'm sure. I mean, I can't imagine many people have seen that before.
Well, Craig Lamont, he's just corrected you, 49 quid.
Well, he was a bit late there. Thanks, Craig, but no thanks.
Good, Craig's a good man as well.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Edinburgh show, well, I mean, you're not going to be in there just yet. Hopefully, when everything sort of calms down a bit, you'll be able to see Craig Robert and the boys in Edinburgh. Again, it's always a must when you're in that city.
Craig and I are childhood friends. Went through school together all our days, and then joined forces again in the Edinburgh shop. It was I know, it was a dream team. You don't need to say it.
A dangerous brother.
No, but that was good.
Excellent. So I think again we've got some good feedback from that one too. Your one next.
Yep, I'll remember this time. So we are moving on to number 6, which normally would be the last dram. It's a bit unusual having 7 for a Cadenhead tasting actually, but yeah. So yeah, it's moving into kind of some of the really kind of the bigger stuff we're moving into. This is an Ardmore 8-year-old. And again, I might need to be corrected here, but I believe it's been in 2 Oloroso sherry casks and 2 bourbon hogsheads. Correct this time?
Yeah. I don't know the age, I'm just saying nodding and agreeing. Yeah, something like that.
8-ish.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
2 or 3.
No, definitely. It was.
Yeah. And again, when I said before about the Benrinnes being one of the ones you showed us in the bottle upstairs, it was like as black as night. This Ardmore as well. This was an Oloroso sherry cask, not a PX.
Yeah.
On another occasion, a separate occasion, we were upstairs, and it had been like maybe 5 or 6 months, and you brought this up, and it's like, can you guess how long that's been in that sherry cask for? And you automatically just say it's full term sherry. You couldn't see through it. It was like a bottle of Pepsi.
Yeah.
But no, Cameron said 5 or 6 months, and then that was it. But again, another one, as has happened previously, that's maybe needed a little bit of toning down. It certainly did when I tried it. It certainly did when I even looked at it. You could see from it that that's going to be full on, very sweet, very intense. So mixed together with 2 bourbon hogshead casks, it's taken the edge off that kind of sweetness a little bit. It's get rid of I don't want to keep saying sickliness because it's not. It's just for me that. But mellowed it out a little bit, and it's not just full on sherry. And Ardmore, of course, being a peated distillery, we're number 6, so we're moving into the peated styles. It reacts very well with the sherry and the bourbon. It's got so many facets, this dram.
And it's the lightly peated style as well.
Yeah,
so it's not. It's very, very well balanced. It's just a tiny little.
It's got that kind of like burnt licorice.
Yeah.
Kind of taste. I don't remember if I've ever had burnt licorice, but
you're right though with the kind of sickliness of it being too powerful and too much. Like on a selfish kind of note from us, the bourbon casks are my favourite.
Me too. Me too.
I've always been a big bourbon or refill sherry. As in a refill sherry over many years, but sometimes
you want to taste the whiskey.
Yeah.
You don't want to taste just the cask.
With the combinations of something like because it's not had a full maturation in the sherry either, and having the bourbon, it's still got a lot of its characteristics there. It's not just a case of, it's got a nice kind of balance to it. It's more, when you talk about finishing, it seems to be a bad word with a lot of people, but there's a reason that these casks do get moved into other casks.
I only learned this recently, that it's almost not frowned upon, but there are a section of the whiskey drinkers and whiskey enthusiasts that frown upon cask finishing. Is it a one in, one out kind of policy?
I'll be honest with you, ideally it would be amazing for us, and that's kind of what we do trying to, we're looking for a longer term.
If you had the casks available to you, then that might be a viable option.
You are looking for more kind of variation. And again, when we're talking about the casks coming in, the re-racking we've done since August, oh God, I can't remember the exact number, but I think we're over 300 casks we've re-racked, into various rums, sherries, ports, wines, which just shows you the kind of vast array of casks we've got. And a lot of these can be quite young casks too, that we're maybe planning for the future. We've tried them, and just maybe some are a bit. And we'll also get a lot of casks from a particular distillery. You might get multiple casks. Sometimes the profile, I don't want to criticise any distillery, but there are a lot, there's some that you get that maybe just don't have a distinct profile. No matter how much you try,
they're not meant to.
No, they're not. They're pretty much designed to be a component.
If every distillery had that distinct profile, then there'd be
So you do need to kind of you need to try and find something to give it maybe that boost. How much is this one?
41.
So it's 41 pounds. I think this one's a bit tougher to get.
Yeah, this it's turning into one of those ones that I expected it to go a little bit wild after the tasting because of the style of whiskey it is. Ardmore's another one of those ones that has a bit of a following, especially amongst Cadenhead drinkers. I don't know, when people visit Campbelltown, Ardmore's a cask that's pretty consistently been in the warehouse tastings. And people tend
young ones too.
Yeah, there's a 4 or 5 year old Ardmore that's been in there.
It was.
And people always come away with bottles from it. And that was 40 quid. That's the same price as this one. But people always came away from it. So visitors to Campbelltown have had this kind of they get this impression of Ardmore. It's not something we've bottled frequently. I think there was a 9-year-old last year, maybe an 8-year-old a few months before, a year before. But it's not been a frequent one, so it's not the same as the Benrinnes. And
we've got some good stock of it too. We've even got some of the really heavily peated stuff as well.
So I think the lightly peated stuff's about 14 to 16 ppm or so, if that means anything to anyone. And then, but I mean, it doesn't taste like it. Gives it that kind of what you've got with this one. It's not Isla smoke. It's not in your face. It's not. You're not it's not fighting against the cask maturation or anything else. It sits there and it takes it in, it wraps itself it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's it just kind of sits with it really nicely.
Yeah, no,
it's more of a kind of ashy smoke in the background that fits really well.
Yeah, and for a young whiskey too, it's not.
And that's at the age as well. Yeah,
it has done. And a lot of the Ardmores, a lot of their own stuff, really good. It is a good distillery, and it is something that we're quite like to get hands on a lot. We've got a good stock of it, but wouldn't mind getting more of it.
Yeah, it's another one of those ones that when people know about it, it has actually got that little kind of cult following.
Yeah,
as from their own official bottles.
No, it's good stuff.
But independent bottlers, in general, I think people do tend to kind of appreciate Ardmore the way they do it and the way we do it, I suppose, and other guys like that. But yeah, a cracker.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be. And again, it's one that speak to your local shop as well. See if you are interested in it too. It is one that there could be some there. I think you're struggling with it just now, but
well, but I never expected it to be like that.
We were hoping again. I think it's a bit of a learning curve as well for us. This, so we'll.
This being the second original collection release, I kind of thought from from the first one. It's you can sit back, you don't need to order quite as much. Because there's plenty there to fall back on.
Yeah.
You can reorder and blah blah blah. But oh god, how I was wrong.
I think we all were. So it's not something to get too disappointed about. So we've got the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one we've got here it is from Isla, of course, and it's from Bunnahabhain, but it's a peated style. 7 years old at 46%. Obviously, I keep saying it, the strength.
I've been kind of forcing myself. I've been forcing myself not to say it because I'm used to it.
And this one again, it's a good one to finish the tasting with. It's Bunnahabhain do kind of different styles of peat as well. This one we actually used 10 bourbon barrels for it, so it's a bit of a bigger vatting. This one, we have got quite a lot of stock of the peated Bunnahabhain, and it's really good stuff. We've been using a lot over the years. They've got their Moynier style, their Stoisha style. There's the other ones I can't pronounce style. And it's really good. So Bunnahabhain, in my opinion, is one of the best. But if Bunnahabhain, I've said this before, but Bunnahabhain was in Speyside or like on the mainland, I think it would, and it's got a really good following anyway. Mm-hmm. But I think it would get a lot more credit.
Yeah, competing against Ardmore, Lefroy, Glasgow.
Yeah, you're always going to. It's always tough competing against those kind of distilleries. But this one too, even for a young whiskey, it's not just a case of here's peat and smoke in your face. Mm. The nose has got that kind of briny medicinal.
It does exactly what it says on the tin.
But I mean,
it's got more.
It's got a bit of kind of fruitiness. It's got that kind of poached peaches, kind of cured ham.
Yeah, it's almost got that. It's like the beef crisp earlier on. This is more like a pickled onion crisp kind of. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I like pickled onion.
I would say so anyway, but it's a bit of a controversial topic that. But when you say 10 casks of this, like that is really good for me and like all the guys in the shop to hear.
There's a bit more.
There's more of it there because we're so used to anything that's peated. A lot of it tends to be older, but even younger stuff like the 11-year-old or the 5-year-old Bunnahabhains from before, any Lejags, anything like that, they sell out so fast. And then people come in and they ask for a peated whiskey. Yeah. And you're in a Cadenhead shop, and obviously we've got Long Row, we've got different things to fall back on. But like, you want to have at least a little bit of a shelf there. It's a Bunnahabhain 7, Kalila 12 from the last original collection. Those kind of things, just there.
Gone are the days when it used to be you could walk in and there would be an Ardbeg, an old Kalila,
and the Ardmore,
a Lefroy. It's now these don't even reach the shelf a lot of the time.
I think I just missed that curve.
Just at the start. The Ryan Sutherland's asking, so this would be a Stoisha then? Like, that's the style of this one. But we just put Bunnahabhain on the label.
Are we allowed to put Stoisha? Should we want to? You
could. There's actually nothing to say that we couldn't. It's one of those things. There's a lot of stipulations with certain casks nowadays that you can't name certain distilleries.
A lot of people wouldn't know.
No, but they're pretty happy to for you. A lot of people will name it, but we just prefer putting the actual distillery on. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll get and we're allowed to with this one, because it does state on it where the distillery is. Yeah. Sometimes you might get one where it gives you the name of something, but it doesn't actually tell you the distillery in the paperwork. So we couldn't just assume, for instance, if it was called the Lewis edition, for instance, that's a terrible example.
That's a fantastic.
We knew it was from Bunnahabhain, but it didn't actually say in the paperwork. We couldn't call it that, and we wouldn't call it the Lewis edition either. We'd just make a different name for it. I think.
There you go. Noted. Yeah. Duly noted.
No, I didn't mean it like that. That's something kind of bad. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Better than the used edition.
Oh, if you boys need some help with your garlic, give me a bell. Definitely do. That's from Flora. John Anderson, any relation?
Not as far as I'm aware, but Flora might know.
Excellent. How much is this one?
40, I believe. 41, sorry.
41.
Mistake. Craig, hold off. Please.
But again, in this one there will be a bit more of too, so hopefully it'll last more than a week, this one,
Yeah.
And it's a good whiskey for any kind of day of the week. It's always say it's a good one after a hard day's work. Not that I've ever done a hard day's work before, but
I just can't remember the end of a hard day's work.
Well, that's exactly. See if there's any more questions we've got from anybody. One of the questions we got earlier on was, why do we put Glenlivet after a lot of the distilleries? Like for instance, Craigellachie, Glenlivet.
This is one we get, like in the Edinburgh shop specifically as well. Anytime
I
American
used to get
customer
it,
comes in, yes.
A lot of these distilleries in the 1800s and kind of years and years ago, when Glenlivet started to get popular, it was kind of an aristocrat's choice. I can't even say that word. And that's nothing to do with alcohol or anything. That's just me. And basically, the Glenlivet was becoming very popular, and a lot of these distilleries were getting built within the Glenlivet region, which kind of was a kind of region before Speyside. A lot of the distilleries then kind of piggybacked on the success and started sort of renaming after that. So you know, Tomintoul, Glenlivet. Macallan was Macallan, Glenlivet.
Balvenie,
I think even Glenfarclas was Glenfarclas, Glenlivet.
Careful.
And so like this went on for many years, and I believe we've actually got some documentation that showed. I think it's up in the distillery. They actually showed that the distilleries paid, the owners of Glenlivet £1 a year or something. Which
what's that 7-year court case to get £1 a year?
But then eventually, when the industry started to get a bit bigger, the owners, I think it was Seagram's at the time, they wanted to change it because it was maybe confusing for a lot of people. So they rebranded to the Glenlivet, and a lot of the distilleries kind of dropped the name anyway. But we were bottling a lot of these distilleries before they actually were bottling under their own name too. A lot of the distilleries, when they were first founded, were just making whiskey to sell to blenders, not actually selling a single malt. So we kind of like to keep the traditional name, of using these names too. In fact, whenever we bottle Glenlivet, it's Glenlivet. It's actually Glenlivet Minmore, because it was a Minmore farm which it was founded on. So we call pretty much everything Glenlivet apart from Glenlivet.
Springbank Glenlivet.
We did an April Fool joke many years ago, where we said, coming next week, we put, we're doing an Ardbeg Glenlivet. The shop got about 40 phone calls that morning. We forgot to actually say it was an April Fool. So, so that kind of backfired on us.
Shouldn't have done it in October then.
Good. I actually had a gentleman once say to me, "Oh, God, you guys must have such a stock of Glenlivet." This one, you blend it with everything. Oh.
I never really realised how much people catch on to it, that it's there on the label. Like the amount of questions you get, and everyone automatically assumes it's a mix of Balmenic Glenlivet and Glenlivet, or Linkwood and Glenlivet. Yeah. But I mean, it's good to have it on the label because it's got that historical reference, and obviously Cadenhead being an older company, it's good. It's good to be able to explain that, we are kind of old enough to, not us specifically, but the company are old enough to remember that kind of side of things.
Yes, definitely. Just seeing, there's a good mix for favourites tonight as well. A lot are going for the Tullybarton.
Good stuff. Glad to hear it. Proud of you all.
Benrinnes, Tomintoul, Tullybarton again, North British. We've got a 1, 6 and 7. I can't remember which 1, 6. That was Tomintoul, Ardmore,
Ardmore and Bunnahabhain. A funny mix that as well. For the Ardmore and Bunnahabhain, I can understand them two being favourites, but
I've got Simon Alt saying great taste. Usually a cast strength fan, but these have been full of flavour, and I'm surprised at the taste of the 46% range. Thank you, gents. Well, thank you very much.
That's another.
It's about the flavour, it doesn't matter the strength. That's the kind of.
That's another really good thing about doing this tasting, because I mean the amount of people, obviously, there's so many people that are just used to us doing cask strength all the time, and obviously being used to it for so many years, you see it come out at 46%, and it might give you a thought about that. But this tasting, I mean, 260 folk have bought this tasting pack, and they might share it with other people. So that's 260 people trying these 7 whiskies at 46%. whiskies that would otherwise a year ago be at cask strength if this was a release. So to have all these people trying at this strength and realising that it's...
Well, they probably wouldn't have been, because we probably wouldn't
Well,
have picked,
yeah,
again, a lot of these ones, even when we're trying them, like, they weren't as good in cask. And as I said before, some of the ones that we tried out of the other alternatives that were maybe better at cask strength, we didn't do. So it's not a case of just...
Oh no, I mean, it's like kind of bygone era.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There wasn't a 46%, but yeah, for having all these people to try these, these 7 whiskies, it's a great little kind of bonus having this tasting.
Yeah, excellent. Seems to be we've not received any abuse yet, so that's pretty good.
You're just not reading out the abuse that you've received.
Actually,
I've not got a computer to see all that.
There was one that you got from Malcolm McFadden, but I let it go. I'll not say what it is. No, everything's good. I'd just like to I think that's pretty much it. It's just like to say thank you very much for joining us. I know you'd probably rather spend your Friday night doing something else with me and Lewis, but I think the dram's hopefully made up.
We've paid to spend our Friday night. I
think they paid to have the drams, not for me and you. But we really appreciate all the support and all the help you guys give us, and hopefully, especially our friends in the EU, hopefully we'll be able to get more contact soon. Yeah, and that goes from like our shop's perspective as well. Definitely, we know we've got like a huge amount of customers from the EU that would, before Christmas, have been able to buy bottles from every single release and have them sent to the day after or whenever. So, fingers crossed, all this mess will be sorted out as soon as possible. And we'll be able to get the bottles you've got stored with us here and the ones that you potentially will buy in the future away to you. And any of these bottles that you liked, we've got some of them in the shop, but every other shop, Edinburgh, London, all the shops across Europe, when they receive them, if you've liked any, get your names in fast, because if the previous ones are anything to go by, they're not going to sit around for as long as I expected anyway. And even some of our friends, as I said, mentioned, we've got ones all around the world too, in Asia, in Australia, America, etc. It'll also be coming your way as well, this collection. So I would get in touch. We've got details of our importers on our website too. So if you're ever looking for it, it'll be coming there soon. Just a couple of questions we got there. Will there be a Cadenhead in the courtyard this year? Too early to decide just yet. No idea. And there was an announcement earlier on about the next online festival. Somebody's asked any hints for it. No. Not quite yet anyway. Hopefully we'll be able to give some hints soon enough. But those questions you're not meant to actually read out the question. I know. I realised after I read it and I went, oh God, I've got nothing to pick it. So I can regret that. But hopefully we'll have something soon. But no, again, thanks very much again. Thanks to all support to everyone associated with us. And also big thanks to Nathan, again, the unsung hero in the background. The silent Fiona Bruce. Just put the questions up on the computer. Brilliant. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Lewis. I appreciate that. All right, thank you very much to you, Cameron. Excellent. And Sanjava. Cheers.